kind of starts off in June of 2020. And Sandra had spoken with family members and let them know that she was planning to go solo hiking and camping in the Sierra National Forest, and that she was possibly going to hike all the way north to Yosemite, which isn't, it'd be a good hike, but not too far from where she would have been hiking.
Yeah, I'll look it up where you can get an idea.
And like we said, she recently moved from Maui, Hawaii to Madera, California, which is this region of the Sierra National Forest.
That's pretty far.
Yeah, I mean, it's
from here to there.
Let's
get my ruler out.
As the crow flies.
30 miles through the mountains?
That's if you could just go in a straight line.
That's a straight line, and that's a week and a half minimum.
Yeah.
And it could be more. I don't know how crazy those mountains are.
Yeah. And part of the reason why she decided to do this kind of trip was obviously this time, 2020, June, COVID was just kicking off. The world was kind of shutting down. People were scared. Sandra thought it would be best for her to get away and into the outdoors to kind of clear her head, where she could be alone. And she said, hopefully remain healthy without the threats of the current pandemic. So kind of a cool way to ride out a pandemic in the beginning when you don't know what's going on in the world. Like, you know what? I'm going off grid. I don't want to.
Yeah.
This could be the next plague. Maybe it isn't. I'm going to go out into the woods and clear my head,
Yeah, be away from people.
Be away from people. Maybe when I come back, things
it's the end of the world.
Everyone's gone, or
it's
normal. So it's an interesting idea if you can swing that. One thing I'll note about this case was I found a lot of conflicting dates in the media reports about when things happened in this case. So we have posts from family members on Facebook that have one date, and then we have news reports that report different dates. We're not talking anything, crazy off, but I'm basing my dates on...
someone's going to complain about your level of research. Like, well, I saw it in the one place where it was different.
Right.
You clearly don't research.
I
listened to all of them, and that makes it harder.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm basing my dates off of Madera County Sheriff's Office reports that they would...
Yeah, I'd stick with the official...
Yeah, and I'm going to shorten that up. I'm going to refer to the Madera County Sheriff's Office as MCSO, just to speed things up.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward now. So like I said, she told family she was going to go camping on June 26th. We don't know exactly when she made it to the forest, but on July 2nd of 2020, and like I said, this comes from an MCSO report, hikers found her camping gear and supplies abandoned and strewn about near Johnson Meadows. They contacted MCSO to report the found property. After receiving the report, MCSO contacted the Hughes family, and a missing report was filed a short time after. Eventually that day, MCSO officials made it out to the abandoned campsite. They noted that the campsite was also in disarray, with things strewn about, bags emptied, just an overall mess. But they did find enough personal belongings to identify the campsite as that it was Sandra's. So, and this is where I found conflicting reports on, online at different news media. Some news organizations claimed that the campsite was discovered by officials on the 5th. But from what I read from the actual Sheriff's Department report, it was July 2nd. Overall, it really doesn't affect the narrative of the timeline, but I just want to make sure everyone is aware that if you go out and personally search this case, you're going to find a lot of different dates.
Or if you find one date and it's different than what we said, you didn't do enough research.
So we are going to fast forward to, July 2nd was when her abandoned campsite was found, just an absolute mess.
So a couple hikers came across her campsite, and it was things strewn about.
They found it. They marked it on their map. They actually hiked out to cell phone reception, then called the Sheriff's Department, and then they eventually got up there to officially find the campsite. So now it's July 4th. This would be the last date that she was actually seen by hikers. And this comes from not only an MCSO report, but also an MPS report. So Sandra was last seen on July 4th near the Chiquito Lake trailhead in the Sierra National Forest, and I bet Joe is
Chiquito.
That's
Chiquito. It's definitely going to be Chiquito. That one's an easy one.
Chiquito.
There
we go.
I knew it.
Sandra,
how dare you?
I know. So she was last seen near the Chiquito Lake trailhead in the Sierra National Forest. The hikers who saw her noted she was barefoot and had a bruise on her face. She was wearing a black shirt and blue jeans. They told law enforcement that they offered her help, but she declined any assistance. Now, this is a different report from the national.
I'm just noting this image they took. She's barefoot, so she might like to be barefoot when she's hiking.
Yeah, like maybe she's taking a break and she wants to walk around in the grass barefoot. Yeah. I mean, we've hiked. When we take a break, I'll take my
shoes off to walk around,
give my feet some air. So now this report came from the National Park Service. They reported that motorists saw her walking away from a crash. So we'll get into that. Her car was crashed, and that they offered her assistance, but she declined. Either way, depending on which sighting happened first, this would be the last time anyone really officially saw her. We have some other sightings that are more sketchy, to say the least.
Yeah.
So we are fast forwarding now to the afternoon.
So, so if we're going by the official reports, she was seen on the 4th. Some people say they found her campsite on the 5th, but really they said the 2nd. So it'd be like maybe 2 days later they saw her walking from a car crash.
So what makes me think the July 2nd date is correct is because the hikers that saw her on the 4th at the time didn't know she was missing. When they got back down out to the parking lot, there already had been signs posted of Sandra that like she's missing. Have you seen her? That's when they realized she's the missing woman, and they contacted law enforcement and said, we saw her. So if her campsite hadn't been found until the 5th, and then she was reported missing on the 5th, how would the hikers have seen her on the 4th and then seen the missing person flyers?
Well, hold on. That could be she was walking away from a car crash on the 4th, and then she went to the campsite and they found it the next day.
No, I mean, the sheriff's department statement specifically says she was seen by hikers on the 4th.
Okay.
So all
right. So, okay.
Yeah.
But
so
they said that she was walking away from a car crash?
Well, they said she was she crashed her car and was walking away. They didn't say, so maybe I should have specified. She wasn't technically maybe seen walking away from the crash, but they say motorists saw her walking away.
Okay.
So
all right.
It's fuzzy, but I think we can for certain say that she was seen by hikers on the 4th because that was reported to law enforcement. Those hikers only realized it was her when they saw missing person flyers in the parking lot.
Okay.
So that's why I think this July 2nd.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Why would those flyers be there if they didn't already find the campsite and report? Okay, so yeah. Okay, I'm with you now.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure I asked it because if I thought of it, we have 40,000 people listen to the show. Someone else is going to think that too.
Well, and I wanted to specify. I keep saying like the dates are different depending on where you look because people will comment and say that you got the facts
and I
of this
trust
wrong.
that report because it was multiple people and motorists called it in. So if there's missing persons flyers already, how can she be missing prior to her being missing? Yeah.
So we'll post all of the Madera County Sheriff's Department statements on our website in the sources section, so you can go read them yourself. So fast forwarding now to July 5th of 2020. It's the afternoon. This again comes from another MCSO report. Later that afternoon, her silver Saab 9.5 was found on road 5SO4 about a mile above the Chiquito Lake trailhead, approximately 6 miles north of her campsite. The MCSO investigators believe the woman's car smashed into a tree at no more than 20 miles an hour. The airbags did not deploy and then rolled down into a ravine and became stuck. There was also no reported blood inside the vehicle. Reports stated that all the items from inside the car had been thrown out of the car as if someone had rummaged through her car, similar to what happened to her campsite. They also go on to state that at this point, authorities didn't believe she was actively trying to evade law enforcement, but might in fact have been hurt and disorientated, and that
disoriented.
Darn it! It's like
I saw that coming up, and I was just waiting.
It's like a block in my brain. I can't say that word right. So So basically, they think her injury may have impaired her judgment to the point that maybe that was causing her to rummage through the car or the campsite. We'll get into theories later.
Okay.
So
This already is very weird.
it's a very strange case, that's for sure. So search officials decided to leave her car where they have found it and posted a note on the windshield, which we have, with instructions on what to do if she sees this and that her family really misses her. So it's
This one? Right
yeah,
there, the
that
orange
one.
note.
So that is the note that they left on her windshield.
All right. This vehicle is probably, please call Madera County Sheriff's Office if you are Sandra. Date and time is 6:30 p.m. at 7/5 of 2020. Other, your family is worried about you. And then there's the numbers for the Forest Service or the Sheriff's Department. Oh, that's a Forest Service.
Yeah, it's a U.S. Forest Service.
Okay.
So yeah, they decided to leave her car there in case maybe in her, impaired state due to an injury, maybe she wanders back to the car. She sees this bright orange note and is able to call for help. And again, here's where we have some little bit of issues with dates. So most media reports actually state the correct date of the car, 7/5, which
the guy standing there putting it on there probably knew what date it
7/5.
was.
So I think, but family posts state that it was found on 7/6. So maybe things just weren't, in the heat of the moment, they were getting some dates wrong. It's not that important.
It's telephone.
Yeah. So her niece, Ashley Makis, actually was very active on Facebook during this search and rescue, and we've got a couple statements that she posted. She wrote, first, the campsite found in the Johnson Meadows area between Besor and Minaret Roads with her belongings was quite disheveled. Things were thrown about all over, almost as if the car and belongings had been emptied carelessly. Ashley said the state of the campsite was very unusual. She would never leave her campsite a mess. Even a piece of litter on the ground would bother her. She then also posted, her car was located off of road 5S70, which actually contradicts what the sheriff's department posted, but that doesn't really matter. While the initial disheveled camp was located off of road 5S13, which I believe also contradicts what the sheriff's department posted, but they thoroughly searched both areas and conducted interviews the past 2 days, but have not made contact with Sandra. Furthermore, they have not had any additional reported sightings. Please keep looking if you are in the area and report anything to the Madera County Sheriff's Office, Forest Service, or myself. Oh, and I think you found...
I have Ashley's Facebook post.
Yeah, so...
From August 13th, so it was an update later.
Yeah, so you got a couple posts there.
Yep.
So, like we said, when her car was found, searchers decided to... They actually started searching the area around where the car was found. Obviously, when the campsite was found, they conducted a search around Johnson Meadows, didn't find anything. When her car was found, and Joe actually has a map of the different points, and this will reveal some of the stuff coming up, but so each time something was found or there was a sighting, they did a search of that area, and every time didn't find anything, no evidence that she was there.
Yeah, this is a big, first camp here, moving all the way up.
So like we said, the car was about 6 miles north of the campsite per the sheriff's office. And then we'll get into some of the other items that were found, but it seems like she was going north.
Yeah.
So we have an update from the Sheriff's Department on July 8th of 2020. MCSO Corporal Chris Williams organized and is leading the search and rescue in the Sierra National Forest for Hughes, who went missing while camping alone. Deputies and volunteers from Kern County Sheriff, Tulare County Sheriff, and Fresno County Sheriff came to help along with Cal OES and our own search and rescue team. California Air National Guard is also assisting with aerial searches. So it's a pretty large search operation. We've got pictures. I believe this is an actual site or picture from
the sleeping bag, it looks like.
Yeah.
Did we get to that yet?
No.
Okay.
But Joe actually does have some pictures of like the search team doing their work, kind of behind the scenes stuff going on. They're looking looking at a map.
A giant iPad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, this looks like probably in the morning or a shift change. They're kind of like
debriefing the next group to go out.
Debriefing or briefing or who knows, but yeah, pretty massive operation. They were out there for a couple weeks. So we're moving on to July 12th of 2020. So we have a sheriff's department update and a family update. So first, from the sheriff's department, we may have many figurative irons in the fire, but our dedication to each continues. Currently, we are assisting CAL FIRE with the wildfire near Kirkhoff Lake, which is now 108 acres and 60% contained. We are also still searching for Sandra Johnsen-Hughes in the Sierra National Forest near how do we say that?
Highlight it.
Chiquito?
Yeah, Chiquito.
Sorry. Near Chiquito Lake, Tulare, Fresno, Mariposa, Kings, Santa Clara, and Marin County all have joined our search and rescue operations. Cal OES is providing communications, and California Air National Guard is assisting with aerial searches. Now, this is a post from Ashley, and this gets into the sleeping bag. Ashley posted to Facebook, search efforts are ongoing, and teams are following up on leads as they are discovered. Her sleeping bag was found approximately 2.5 miles north of her car, just inside Yosemite National Park. So this is near the Spotted Lake area where they found it. It's a very difficult area to get to as there are no main roads in or out. Searchers had found the sleeping bag and said it looked as if some had been recently used. After the discovery of the sleeping bag, searchers combed the area of Spotted Lake but didn't find any additional evidence of Sandra. Did you find the lake?
Yeah, this area is super rugged.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, at first I thought she was hiking the whole way. It seemed like she was taking her car and trying to move up to Yosemite. So she was going that way, and that's what she wanted to do. But it's still at some pretty rugged areas. Unless there's some back road stuff that I'm unaware of, which there might be.
Now, the map that had the markers located, that obviously, I want to just confirm that.
There's Spotted Lakes. Yeah, right there. Spotted Lakes.
Okay.
So it was west of there. So like around this area.
Okay.
I can narrow down a little bit.
Yeah.
Along the rivers going in there.
So yeah, they said the sleeping bag looked like it had been recently used. So that adds even more intrigue to the case. And we'll get into theories, but I mean, this one is puzzling. And the discovery and the discovery of the sleeping bag and the lack of additional evidence really puzzled searchers as her original campsite, car crash, and sleeping bag were all more or less in a straight line north. And at this point, she would have been slowly hiking north without any gear, food, and possibly shoes, and maybe an injury from the car crash. Mm-hmm. So we're talking campground, or her campsite. Her car was found 6 miles north. Sleeping bag's another 2.5 miles north. And this is rugged terrain, rugged, remote, isolated terrain. What are you reading there?
Like kind of the stuff that you're saying.
Okay. So
this is Ashley Mackis's updates.
Oh yeah, and the sheriff's department, I think, actually copied and pasted some of this and posted it in one of their posts.
Okay.
But some of the dates don't.
Yeah, that's where I'm seeing some of them aren't the same. So,
like I said, I'm going off the official statements from the sheriff's department.
No, that's good.
And I'm not knocking anybody in the family for what they posted.
Yeah, they're disheveled.
That was the heat of the moment.
Exactly. And a lot of them are like a day off.
Yeah. It doesn't really change, like I said, the narrative of the timeline.
Yep.
So it's now July 13th of 2020. We have another sheriff's department update. They posted, as the search for Sandra Johnsen-Hughes continues this Monday morning, we are joined daily by other agencies today. California Air National Guard in Fresno sent their UH-60M Blackhawk helicopter crew to assist. I think they had a video of it landing. Nothing crazy, but it gives you an idea what they're using. And
this is a real long time for a search to be going, probably because they kept seeing signs of her.
Yeah, I mean, they found her car, and then they found a sleeping bag.
And knowing her background, a lot of times they'll extend it, because a lot of times after a couple days, they'll be like, it's been a couple days, but knowing she's in survival and
being July, it's theoretical. It's not January. It's theoretical. You could probably survive out there.
Yeah, with
limited gear, assuming the weather is nice.
Sure.
And I didn't get any indication of my. Based on the pictures, everything we're seeing, no snow on the ground. It looks sunny. It probably gets pretty hot.
Yeah, I think so.
That time of year, but
yeah, there's a lot of tree cover though.
A lot of tree cover, water. I mean, there's water in the area that she could get access to. The problem is, as we get into these other sightings, is food. You can't survive for 30 days without food.
Yeah.
So we're fast forwarding now to July 20th of 2020. And this was when kind of the search was officially scaled back. So we have a statement from the sheriff's department. After 2 weeks of continuous searching for missing person Sandra Johnsen-Hughes, using mutual aid assets from all over the state, as well as the Air National Guard for helicopter and overflight reconnaissance of the area, MCSO has released all assisting assets and will continue conducting the search of Sandra through investigation and follow-up on tips. We're asking anyone hiking in the Chiquito Lake or Chain Lakes Basin just inside Yosemite National Park border to please keep an eye out for Sandra. If you see her, please try to make contact and document your coordinates with GPS. Immediately contact the Madera County Sheriff's Office or Yosemite National Park Rangers as soon as possible. So at some point, as any of you have listened for a while, the search has to get scaled back. Can't indefinitely expend resources. But this one kept going as they found new evidence. So a pretty long search, a pretty big search. But here's where things start getting interesting. So we have two more sightings. One, I would say, possible, but not likely. And another one that seems just X-Files territory.
Okay.
So our first sighting happens October 9th of 2020. So over a month from when her abandoned campsite was found. So Hughes was reportedly spotted again on August 9th, 2020, when two hunters told officials they saw a woman leaning against a tree along Road 5SO1 near Bishop Road. Road 5SO1 and Bishop Road are in the area of the Chiquito Creek near Portuguese Overlook. They mentioned to law enforcement that she did not wave them down, attempt contact, or appear distressed. The hunter said Sandra appeared to be visibly thinner than in her last known photos. She also appeared to have no equipment or other people with her. MCSO once again went out to the location of the reported sighting but didn't find any evidence that Sandra had been there. These sightings reportedly took place not far from the areas where burned in the these didn't take place far from areas that were burned in the massive creek fire which began Labor Day weekend of 2020 in Fresno and Madera counties. The fire was not considered fully contained until late December that year. Law enforcement officials go on to say, her car did not burn in the fire, and we have since gone up there and removed it. So her car had been sitting out there for, it sounds like, over a month, hoping maybe that she would return to it. Mm-hmm. We have another sighting, or another post from Ashley also. She wrote, Sandra Johnsen-Hughes was spotted this past Sunday, August 9th, 2020, along Road 5SO1 near Portuguese Creek in Madera County, California. She was wearing overalls and a floral shirt. The gentleman that saw her said she appeared thinner than in pictures, but was standing by a pine tree drinking water. So now we have, if this sighting is true, so I considered the July 4th date her kind of real date of when she went missing. And a lot of the media, I think, kind of is going with that date. Mm-hmm. I think this sighting, while I don't know how, I don't know much about it, and I don't know how valid this sighting is. Yeah. Could it have been her? I think theoretically it could, but that would be a stretch. If she was out there on her own with no gear, no food, possibly injured, to survive that long. Yeah. And then not ask for any assistance if two hunters saw her. So this sighting is just puzzling to me. Sure. But it's not even the strangest sighting. So, yeah. So fast forward an entire year now. So it's July 21st of 2021. Jake and Victoria Gorba traveled to the Sierra National Forest with their 3 children when they decided to stop to have lunch. And their son started talking to someone or something off in the meadow that they were near. They were heading to Shut-Eye Peak, which is about 5 miles south of Johnson Meadows. Her parents said he was just in our car and he was pointing out to a certain spot in the meadow. He goes, "Yeah, there's a lady over in the meadow in a black shirt." And I got goosebumps, he says. "She needs our help, but she's dead and she's laying face down with her legs up. And she can't talk to me, but she's over there. We need to go help her." So Victoria said Caden, which is her son, kept pleading for her to trust me, Mom. So she was spooked enough to venture into the field, hoping she wouldn't find a dead body, which Caden described right down to her blue hair. Not finding anyone in the meadow, they turned around and went home and posted their story to Facebook. Later that night, the sheriff's department somehow came across that Facebook post and contacted the family to further investigate, especially since some of the photos that Sandra Johnsen-Hughes they had were in a black shirt and blue hair. So Joe actually has a news clip from that time period with
if
this
you're
report.
watching, you'll see it. Otherwise, you can hear it, and it'll be fine.
You got the volume up?
We turn now to a family vacation that took a strange turn in California. They visited the same area where a missing woman was last seen. ABC's Andrea Fuji picks up the story from there.
This morning, a California family's ghostly encounter could help solve a mystery. When the Gorba family went on a four-wheeling trip in the Sierra National Forest, their 3-year-old son, Caden, started talking to someone who wasn't there.
He was just in our car, and he was pointing out to a certain spot in the meadow.
The family was at Shut-Eye Peak, about 70 miles outside Fresno, when they stopped for lunch. Mom, Victoria, says Caden told them there was a woman close by.
I got goosebumps. He says, "She needs our help, but she's dead." And she's laying face down with her legs up, and she can't talk to me, but she's over there. We need to go help her.
Caden's parents checked out the meadow, but saw nothing.
He kept saying, trust me, Mom." And I was like, "I trust you, bud. You know, I believe you 100%.
Creeped out, the Gorbas said they headed back home. Caden's mom then posted their experience on social media, and that's when the Madera County Sheriff's Department reached out for more information. Turns out a woman went missing just over a year ago within 5 miles of where they were. A woman with a black shirt and blue hair.
He describes down to blue hair. He said she has a black shirt, blue jeans, and blue hair, Mom.
Detectives say Caden's description matched that of 53-year-old Sandra Hughes, who went missing in June 2020 after going camping alone. Caden was able to identify 3 out of 4 pictures of her. Detectives went back to the meadow with the Gorba family to investigate, and so far found nothing. But the case remains open.
If she was possibly a ghost looking for some help, I hope that he could have at least helped and maybe help the family find her.
That four-wheeler the family used to drive up to the meadow is now for sale. They say they're too spooked to use it again. Mona, Victor.
Andrea.
So